Excellent. This brings us to our next question now. And this is where a lot of organizations are stuck. They have piloted these technologies, and this is where they want to scale it up, right? It might be a business unit, it might be just a specific area where they have piloted it up. Now, the next question which comes to the mind is how do you scale it up? So, Rajesh, next question to you in terms of what has been your experience and how have you actually scaled up these technologies in your organization? And also, would love to understand that what are the key tenets of AI and automation once you scale up these technologies? How do you ensure that they remain there so that you can sustain this once it has been scaled up?
Thanks, Sandeep. I think very interesting to hear perspective from individuals. That it actually makes me think. We are a data center company, so I would probably answer this in a relevant fact of behalf of all my customers and the consumptions and what the experiences we share together. Because we partner with our customers, we get privy to a lot of their pain points, understanding. So I try to simplify this thing rather than putting something. On a specific thing, I want to generalize this into 3-4 different tenets: scalability, speed, and security. These are the fundamental things that you need for doing any automation or AI. Right now, I try to put this into three, dimensions you can call, or tenets you can call. One is data. Without a data, obviously, there is nothing. No AI, nothing, no ML, no models. Second part is the data center, because the clouds, containers, the platform, the application that you use to process that data. And third thing is devices. Now, these devices could be also a range of things, right? There are sensors, there are wearables, there are connected cars, there are smart buildings, everything that is actually extending our perimeter. So when we actually look at what would impact certain things, I'll give you one example. We recently launched a video analytics platform which is fully integrated. So what is fully integrated means? We solve the issues for hardware, we solve the issues for inferences, data sets, AI models. Then the biggest problem that came to us is that every enterprise would see that they have plethora of maybe 10, 100, or maybe 500 cameras to come in. Then we understood that the technologies that we were kind of using to actually collect and ingest those feeds were not even relevant. So we went to a broadcaster quality, transcoder to work with them, and then now we are able to, capacity of ingesting more than 1 lakh feed at a time. Now, once I have that feed, I can forward that feed to different AI engines around object recognition, facial recognition, ANPR simultaneously. But to run that, I need a robust platform, and that is where data center comes into play. So you have to have these perspective in terms of what devices you are using. What is your objective? Obviously, every business, you hear Puneet, Kavita, everybody who is very much focused on their end objective, right? How do I test whether I'm successful? How do I reach there? But these are the underlying things that is very difficult for a technologist to show it to the business. Think what is going to impact on me? Do I have a data set that is variable? Let's take example that you're taking data from, say, social engines to collect for the feedback of our customer. You're gathering data from logs of applications, alerts, notifications. You have, the legacy data, right, which is text, images, voice, video. We have already been able to handle that. But what about the new biometrics? Even the syntaxes, even the logs machine, the reading of the parameters from the IoT device coming in. So it has actually changed the entire paradigm, the way we were looking at data. Data, metadata, and associated data sets are now becoming far more compelling us to kind of look at. On the contextual things and the sentiment analysis, all of that are the models which are actually being tuned. But for those models also, we also face the issue because we didn't have the data sets to look at faces. So we had to work with various agencies. I was part of the IUDX Smart City data exchange forums, and then we found out that most of the enterprises are reluctant to share the data back to the data models so that you can do more inferences, trainings, and all that. And that is where it gets kind of isolated. So this is one of the biggest challenges that enterprise has to look at. That don't sell or don't delete any data. don't keep that data wherever it is. It could be metadata, it could be relevant or non-relevant data, but don't delete that data, because today or tomorrow you will actually use that data and then create more meaningful insights. I'll just go in terms of correlation of these things. Right? That when you collect certain things, you curate something, then when you correlate, then only it makes sense. One of the biggest and fascinating example is Israel. The way they use the data in terms of their own gospel or different algorithms that their unit 8200 or 9200 used. One is for prediction of the attacks, one is qualifying the attacks, where it has to go. So it is far more precious. I think that's a great testimonial. I can talk about that for hours in terms of that's my area of interest in terms of understanding how they have used effectively the AI, how they have used data, and then obviously how there it is deployed. Let's take the last bit on data centers, right? So what is happening today is that most of the data centers are the legacy things that you go to a vendor, he is already onto say a virtualized instance, and then he talks about his ecosystem. But when you want to scale it to hundreds of your locations, then it becomes a problem because you can't replicate. You can't take the processing near the perimeter unless you have a strategy on edge. And most of our edges are already so much advanced that they run only containers. They are serverless codes, containers where only functions are actually sitting on the perimeter. Let's not talk about connected cars and self-driving cars, because in self-driving cars the entire processing has to be at the end. You cannot afford to bring that data back and process by the time the person in the car could probably crash it somewhere else. So there are relevant things for the data centers in terms of, so I'm using data center is for the larger paradigm of processing applications and all that gamut. So when you actually get a very right strategy in terms of a robust technology platform, can my platform scale from virtual machines to containers and then do a justice to all of the technologies that I am augmenting so fast? Because the technology, not everybody is inventing, right? Most of the guys like us who work and stitch 3 or 4 solutions together and make a automated workflow out of it, and then get into our object. So that is very, very essential that you look at data center deployment and the technology partner platforms. Lastly, maybe I'll have to probably put it into 3 C's. Is that culture. Most of the pandemic has taught us. Like everybody said that we didn't have a choice. But look, we have already survived because technology has enabled our business already. We were not ready because it was our mindset of change management. Whether can my guys work? Can they be productive? Because they're everybody, including your remote hands in our data centers. Everybody is productive today because of technology. We have fantastic communication. I think I should say thank you to the networks which have actually helped us in terms of the higher bandwidth, connectivity, reach of those endpoints, so that everybody who is sitting in any corner of India today can actually attempt and get connected to certain calls and kind of do that. So video analytics, video conferencing are the biggest enablers for the future. And I think every organization must have some kind of a strategy on that part also. Last part is like choosing wisely. Like the technology platform that we use, you have to actually infuse all these insights. You have to use multiple tools for syndication, integration, correlation, whatever you may call it. But we have to be open to do some kind of POCs. The POC word is so abused that it is only focused on one thing. It could be a proof of outcome. It is not proof of concept anymore, because it is everything is outcome based, and everybody is focusing on that. So very exciting phase in terms of what we have done in pandemic. I think the pandemic has made us more hygienic, more aware of social context, more technology oriented, and more productive, to be frank. Because when we look at certain things that how it has kind of impacted us, unfortunately we have lost a lot of lives because we were not physically capable of handling certain things. But on the technology factor, I'm sure we are already there.
Thank you, Rajesh. And actually, you bring out very, very relevant points. I mean, as you scale up, and again, I picked up certain points in what you said. Definitely, one thing is you have to look at your data, maybe the entire data strategy. What data to who? I mean, who consumes this data? Where will that data lie? I mean, the entire data strategy, because that is one of the key tenets for AI, for automation, you need to have that rich set of data. I mean, you definitely need to look at the data. The second point, which you very, prominently brought, is we were always ready. Technology kind of enabled us. I mean, it provided us the platform. So that's where I think at a lot of organizations, the change management perspective also comes into picture. How ready are you to change? Technology will give you the platform, but as an organization, are you ready to change? Your change readiness. And probably the third one, if I can highlight, would be the processes itself. Even if you change, if you continue to doing your earlier processes, I don't think technology might help you at the end of the day, right? And I read it somewhere recently. For example, you can have a technology for automatic inspection of your machines, etc. But if you don't change the process of having a vendor for inspection, etc. I mean, you have a vendor coming for inspection after every 3 months. You need to change those processes as well, because now whenever the machine tells you something has to be changed, it has to be changed then, not at a periodic. What would
Yeah. Just to intervene here, Sandeep, I think I remember one of the quotes from our CEO. He said, "If you keep inventing candles, you will never reach to a LED bulb." So you have to completely think out of the box and then kind of attack that question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lovely perspective. Thanks, Rajesh. So now